This is the plaintiff, William Hoyos Jr. He says the defendant is his sister, and she's done him wrong. She took all his belongings out of the apartment they once shared, loaded his stuff into a truck, and now everything is ruined. He's not about to let his own sister get away without paying him the $5,000 he's owed. And he's suing his own flesh and blood in this courtroom here today. This is the defendant, Jasmine Schmidt. She says her brother was impossible to live with. His erratic behavior was affecting her children, and she asked him to move out. He gave her excuse after excuse. So when he went on to one of his 3-day binges, she moved his stuff into a storage facility. She even paid the first month to help him out, and this is the thanks she gets, a lawsuit? Bottom line, she owes him nothing and thinks the judge will agree. She's accused of booting out her brother. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $2,404.30 for all she's out.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff says the defendant took all of his stuff out of the apartment and ruined it. But the defendant says her brother is crazy, creating emotional issues for her kids. It's the case of, oh, brother.
Thank you, Douglas. William Hoyos, you are suing your sister, Jasmine Schmidt, for $5,000 that you say she owes you for illegal eviction, pain and suffering, and damages to your items, as well as some phones that, according to you, she has not returned. You are counterclaiming against your brother the costs of you moving him out because, according to you, the filth he lived in is what caused your animals to get sick. Tell me what's going on.
So I live with my sister, Jasmine. Originally, it was me, my mother, and my sister. Then eventually Jasmine moved in.
Wait, Jasmine is your sister?
Another sister.
Another sister, okay.
Yes. Jasmine eventually moved in.
And how big is this? Is it an apartment or a house?
1-bedroom apartment.
Is it a rental or owned?
Rental.
Okay.
It was under my mom's name.
And all those people lived in the 1-bedroom?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
So my mom passed away last year.
Sorry to hear it.
And it was down to us. My role was to cook, clean, and take care of the kids. Most of the day she was gone. Most of the night she was gone. The kids would ask me.
What was she doing when she was gone?
I don't know. She was hard to get in touch with. She would never answer her phone.
Okay.
So
How old are the kids?
7, 16, and 21.
Okay.
So I would take care of my nephews. I would cook for them. Whatever money I had, I would pitch in towards food. But there came to a point where...
How would you get money?
Doing offhand jobs.
Okay.
And after a while, she just didn't clean or do anything. And my nephews were really unhappy. The 16-year-old is super depressed. The youngest doesn't talk, and the oldest is never home. So it would always be me and the 2 youngest. And it came to a point where they were asking me, where's the food, where's, my mom? After a while, I'm like, I don't know. So my nephew said that he was tired of this because he was wearing the same...
Which nephew? A 16-year-old or 7-year-old?
16. He told me he was tired of this. There's no food, there's no clean clothes, the house is filthy, and every time she comes home, she's nasty with him, that he wanted to talk to ACS. I said...
He wanted to call the government and file a complaint against his mom?
Yeah, well, he went and talked to his school. So I said, I fully support you. And that weekend, I went to my girlfriend's house Friday, and I ended up sick. So I slept to Sunday. And then I get a text from my neighbor saying, are you moving? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? She's like, all your stuff is all over the place. I'm like, what do you mean? Send me a picture. She sent me a picture, and I see my stuff.
Outside?
Yeah. So I find out my stuff is being moved. I get a cab. Me and my fiance go to the scene. I see a U-Haul truck, and I see my stuff scattered from the hallway to the street. So I approach her and ask her, what's going on? What are you doing? Stop. She started screaming at me off the top of her lungs. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just relax. Like, stop. Like, why are you acting like this? And she pushed me. So as soon as she pushed me, I already knew what direction it was heading. I walked away from the truck, went to the side, me and my fiance's like, call the police. We called the police. 40 minutes later, they came. It was a Memorial weekend. And they said, you know, what happened? And I said that I had come home from my fiance's house, found out that she illegally evicted me and changed the locks. Because when I went upstairs, the locks were changed. And all my stuff was on.
I'm confused about something. You said it legally evicted you. How long had you been living there?
I've been living on and off there for 14 years.
How long had you been living this last time that was considered on?
Over a month.
And you were not paying any rent?
No.
Okay. When was the last time you paid rent?
While my mom was alive.
So she takes your stuff, there's a U-Haul, and what happens? Your stuff is going where? Don't you just say, all right, give me the keys to the U-Haul, let me take it where I gotta take it?
I was stuck nowhere with 3 senior dogs.
Who was living in a one-bedroom apartment? Let me go through this. You, your 3 senior dogs, you.
Her dogs.
How many dogs do you have?
We have 3 dogs and a cat.
3 dogs and a cat in a one-bedroom apartment that you're sharing with your brother, and how many kids?
3 children.
What are you thinking? Like, why would you have that many pets when you're already in under, you know, you're over your head in just struggling to maintain life? Who's paying the rent in that place?
I am.
Okay, so then he calls you and says, can I move in?
He called me. He said he was unhappy. He wanted to come back and, you know, find a job. You know, can he stay with me for a while? So I said, okay. You know, he said, in the meantime, while he looked for a job, you know, he would help out with the kids, he'd cook. So I said, okay. And his plan was to go to school and work part-time. He got there. He would stay up all night, go out, come back, and he'd sleep all day. So clearly he wasn't looking for a job. And then his behavior just became erratic.
How?
He was eyes closed. He would sit up, start talking, you know, like rambling. At one point, he took a pack of frozen meat out of the freezer and put it on the floor next to the dog's bowls. I don't know if he was attempting to feed them. I don't know what he was doing.
Do you think he was on drugs?
Honestly, I don't know. His behavior
Was anybody
changed
else in the house on
drastically.
drugs?
No.
So have you ever known him to be on drugs?
Previously, no. He did have a drinking problem.
Okay. Had he been in rehab or anything?
No, he was entered into a program, but he never went.
Okay. So he is suing you
Yes.
for $1,510 for 3 phones that, according to him, he took out on his credit for you and your 2 children. Is that true or not true that those phones were obtained for you?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
I was behind on 2 payments, but, you know, 2 of my children are sick. And you know, I need the phones. I was going to pay it. I just needed to catch up. He reported the phone stolen.
Stolen?
Yes.
Did you report the phone stolen?
I called T-Mobile because she hasn't paid and she hasn't returned the phones. T-Mobile told her multiple times to either pay or return the phones because they're under my name, and
Right.
she never did.
Okay. Why didn't you return the phones to him?
That's not true. He never contacted me.
Yeah, but he did
T-Mobile-
shut off the service, or
He
right?
shut off the, but I already at that point had paid into the phones. He never asked for the phones. He just reported
Right.
them
So
stolen.
you have 3 phones with no service, or you went and put another service on those phones?
No, the phones are, once they're reported stolen, it's blocked. They're blocked.
So
they
where are
can't-
the phones?
I have them in my bag.
But why are they reported stolen? Because these aren't stolen. They're in the hands of somebody you gave them to. Show me your phone bills. What happened with DCF? He says that your son called DCF, or Children and Family, whatever you call it in
No,
your state.
what happened was his dogs were urinating all over the apartment. He refused to walk them. He would disappear Thursday, wouldn't return until Monday. And when he was there, he wasn't taking care of his dogs. The apartment was a mess. His stuff was stacked everywhere.
Do you have any pictures?
I have, yes.
And were you telling him you've got to get the stuff out of here? You got to get your own.
multiple times. I didn't even kick him out. All I said was, can you please clean up the apartment, put the stuff you don't use either in storage or take it to your girlfriend's house and keep the place clean. That's all I asked him.
And what would he say?
And he kept saying, yes, I'm moving. These are the messages. These are the pictures. He kept saying, yes, I'm going to move. Every weekend he would say he was going to move and he wouldn't leave.
All right. And so one fine day in May, this is how it looked?
Yes.
So what happened with Children and Family Services?
Well, my son, you know, he started having anxiety over the situation. The place was constantly a mess. Again, my brother's behavior was erratic. So I scheduled an appointment with my son's guidance counselor. They said they weren't going to make any reports because they knew, you know, I had spoken to them. I told them I was working on the situation. He had agreed to leave. That Friday, that was Memorial Day weekend. That Friday, he disappeared.
Who disappeared?
My brother. Left to his girlfriend's house.
Did your son call Children and Family Services?
No, he
on
didn't.
Did your brother call Children
Yes,
and
he
Family?
did.
How do you know it was your brother?
Because shortly after I moved all his stuff out, after everything happened.
What happened?
After I moved his stuff to storage. He called
It's after you move his stuff to storage that Children and Family Services gets
first
called?
he called the police on me. The next day, ACS gets called.
Okay, was it after she moved your stuff to storage that Children and Family Services was called?
He told them Thursday or Friday.
Thursday, Friday. We're getting awful close to when your stuff was moved. Okay.
Your Honor, I was very close to my nephews. We grew up together.
If you were so close to the nephews, why did you call the Department of Human Services?
I didn't.
I find the timing very suspicious.
So first of all, can a brother and sister live together?
No, in the case of the house, this is a crown. Yeah, many people live in the same.
Well, I'm not talking about the number of people. I'm just saying a brother and sister, forget
they
it.
can live together.
Can they really?
Yes.
As adults?
No,
Why?
because they both have their own agendas and they're going to clash inevitably.
That's, I guess, my question. Do brothers and sisters as adults clash in closed quarters?
I think so, they do, yeah.
Not recommended for them to live together?
No.
You have a brother?
No.
You have a sister?
Yes.
Would you live with her? Say no.
No.
Good. Going inside the courtroom.
I got to tell you, it's really suspicious.
No, Your Honor, that is not at all true.
Okay, what happened with his laptop, his iMac? He says that the laptop and the iMac that you damaged them. Actually, those are the only things he's,
No, the laptop was returned in that bag the day in front of the precinct when we gave him the keys to the storage unit and the access code. The laptop was in the bag,
Right.
and the Mac computer was already in pieces. He told me someone had given it to him. It was broken. They didn't want to fix it. They gave it to him because he repairs computers and he wanted to use it for parts. The iMac was destroyed.
Do you repair computers?
Yes.
And that the iMac was placed in storage.
Okay. Do you have pictures of your stuff?
Yes.
Let me see them. All right, let's go over this. Let's start first with the phones. Are the phones here?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have all of your phone bills?
Well, if they're going to charge me the full amount of the phone because it's canceled beforehand.
As it stands, it'll be what?
Since it's canceled without the amount being paid off, they're going to default charge me the full value of the phones.
Right. Okay. Here is how the phones are going to be handled. Okay? These are ultimately your responsibility. You stopped paying your responsibility. So since you're supposed to finish paying them off and you didn't, once I get the correct information, which is going to be your responsibility to get to me, and I'm going to give you some time to get that to me, I need to know how much is left to pay off the installment plan on these phones. I am going to order you to pay him the rest of the installment plans, but only once you unlock the phones, and then these are your phones to do with what you wish. Okay? That is one. That takes care of the phones. Regarding the laptop and the Mac, can you provide me with any evidence? Oh, you said you were going to show me pictures of how it was broken, that the PC, there's a PC and that it was broken. Is this it?
Yeah, that's the laptop that's broken. When you power it on, that's all you see.
Okay. Well, she says that you're a liar and that anything you have that was broken, it's because you repair computers. And you've told me that you do repair computers. So what do I do with that?
With all due respect, Your Honor, she's accused me of a lot, even calling ACS, which I didn't. So she's just been pulling things out the air.
What's this little item that I see that's shattered? What's that?
That's the Mac.
Okay. And according to you, she shattered your iMac?
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't fix that. How's that?
Right, but she says that she didn't do that, that you got a broken iMac that was given to you for parts.
No.
Okay, do you have any proof that this, when you purchased this iMac?
I don't have any receipts because they're all mixed up in that mess.
Well, maybe you should have gone into the mess, and that's part of what I want to talk to you about. At some point, you can't point the finger at everybody else and ask them to support you. You're a grown man. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Right, you're a grown man. So when all of your stuff is put into the U-Haul, it is your responsibility to get your stuff out of the storage, which you have the next day. The first month was paid by her. What stopped you from taking everything out of here that day? It's all paid up. You have a key. What stopped you from taking the stuff out that month?
Ma'am, I had nowhere to go. I have no dog.
You have a girlfriend whose house you go to every single weekend. And if you have nowhere to go, then that sometimes happens when you're a grown-up. You got to figure out where to go. Someone else doesn't figure out for you where to go. So it's time to get a job. It's time to pay your bills. It's time to do that kind of stuff. But you had 30 days where all your stuff was there. You could have gone in there and taken everything that was of value. And you do none of that. All right, here we are now. Let's talk about your counterclaim against him. You want the money back for the storage unit, but you haven't and aren't paying them. His stuff is going to get auctioned off, right?
Well, they're suing, they're putting it into collections, and it's going to reflect negative on my credit.
Yeah, probably is. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't know if they're going to make enough money auctioning his stuff for that bill to not be the size that it is. I have no idea. I'm going to sever that count of your counterclaim. And if it turns out that they sue you for these months, you could file another case that has to do with that. So I am dismissing it without prejudice for you to raise it again once you have an amount of damages, because this is purely speculative at this juncture. You don't know if they're going to go after you for it. You don't know if the stuff that the money they're going to make in selling it will cover this. You don't know any of those things yet. As far as the U-Haul rental and this first month of storage unit, you had to pay all that. You feel it's not your fault and you feel that you should be reimbursed. There's $405.76 that is the U-Haul and the move, okay? Then there is going to be an amount that you're going to show me that they're going to charge you to close out these phones. So when I'm going to give you a month then, and you're going to supply us with the proof of what it takes to close it out, because I don't want that on your credit. That is their responsibility. I am going to award you that amount minus the amount of the U-Haul and the storage, because you do owe that. You're supposed to get out when you're staying at someone's house and they ask you to leave. You can't just say every weekend, go to my girlfriend's and that's that, and then like, it's really hard to do. I'll do it ASAP, but hey, it's Memorial Day weekend. No, you don't get a chance to do that. All right, so I will await to get the bills from you, and I would imagine that there's going to be some judgment, a net judgment in favor of the plaintiff of some amount that I don't know yet, unless it's less than the 405.76. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
So the final details on this case are still to be worked out financially, that is. The defendant, Ms. Schmidt's on her way out of the courtroom. Are you still living in that mess, or is it getting straightened out?
No, I cleaned it up the day the stuff was out. I went and bought tons of supplies.
What a mess. What a mess.
Was, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, hope you can work it out. Now, Mr. Hoyos is coming out of the courtroom. You know, a couple of key questions for you. Number one, where are you living now?
Now I'm living in the city with my older sister.
And where are the dogs?
With me.
Are you taking care of them?
Of course.
All right. The final thing is the relationship with her. Do you think it's over? Or are you still willing to have a relationship, or what?
I want a relationship with my nephews, but not someone who's trying to destroy me. And
So as far as you're concerned, it's over, huh?
yeah.
Sorry about that. Really sorry. Thank you very much. All right, Harvey, quite a case, huh?
Okay, I will say one thing, that if you really see that somebody is abusing their kids in any way, you should call Children's Services. But do not use Children's Services as a way of getting back at somebody. That is a terrible abuse of the system. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.